Hi, welcome to Copic in the Craft Room. Michelle Houghton here, and we are doing some mermaids this week. Again, this was a request by a viewer and I can't remember if this one came through our Facebook page or the YouTube page, but if you have not requested something yet, please do so. It makes my life a whole lot easier because it gives me ideas, but it also allows you to get the information that you really want. And I think anyone who watches this channel regularly will tell you that as I try to fulfill all those requests, even when I'm teaching all across the country, the requests that I get at those classes are things that you then end up seeing on videos and on Facebook photo tutorials. So check out our Facebook page, Copic in the Craft Room. I run both areas and it all kind of comes together on that Facebook page. We have Pinterest, we have the YouTube channel, but we also have that Facebook page that kind of collects it all together. So requests are welcome both here and on the Facebook page. And if you contact me live, that's great too. You can check in with me at my personal blog at scrapweaver.com. But this request is for mermaid tails, in particular the colorful ones that I've seen around. So we're going to do that today, and mostly I'm going to tell you the hint ahead of time. This is mostly about blending two. I'm going to take it the easy route. I'm going to take two colors that are sitting similar or next to each other on the color wheel, so they're going to blend pretty easily together. But then once I've got a kind of a base layer of color, I'm going to do a lot of dotting to create that texture of a mermaid tail, those scales. So those are the hints. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to do some fun, bright colors on these two little tails, and depending on time-wise, I'll actually do some of their skin and hair as well so that they will be ready to pop on a little card sometime. These images are by Tiddly Inks. I love her. She's a favorite of mine, and these were very, very sweet. But right now, mermaids are hot. They were hot this summer, kind of 2016 here, and you see them everywhere. So mermaids from anywhere you want, grab a fin and you can color along with me. I'm using some different colors this week just for fun, so not necessarily something out of my class bag that I travel with. I'm going to try to close in a little bit closer on one of these since they're such small images, and then we will just get started. So these are fairly quick because these little tails are small. I'm starting with V01 and I'm going from the opposite end with RV04. So notice I feather them together, and I'm coming back with my V01 to soften and blend the two colors. V05 is going to start at the top and dot the texture in from the top down, and then RV09 is going to add some lines on the fins and then dot some texture coming up. V06, a little bit darker from the top down, focusing in a little bit harder on that right hand side, and then I'm using a colorless blender to do more dotting, specifically adding more texture, but dotting all the way through that whole tail. It's also going to soften those colors together, and I focus that on the left hand side to lighten that up a little further. V06 for a few more dark dots, and RV09 as well on top, and a little bit of colorless blender. So BG01 on the next tail, starting from the bottom up this time, and then B63 is coming and feathering, kind of doing that flicking motion over the top edge. BG01 to soften and blend those two together. B66 is going to dot on the top. I've remembered to include the little top on this little mermaid as well. I'll go back and do the other. BG05 for dots and those little flicks on her fins. B79, it's going to be that real dark shade of dots on the top portion, and BG07 for some darker flicks and dots on the bottom. B66 and 63 to smooth the top and that waist, and then some colorless blender again, dotting on the tail to add that texture and to kind of soften those colors together even more. Notice those are both blues, or blue and blue-green. V01, and V05 to create that little top. YR000 on this little mermaid's skin tone, so real light and fair. YR00 to add some shading. Notice again it's coming in from that right hand side, so I've got a light source over on the left, so it's consistent on her tail and on her skin. E93 just for a little bit of cheek, and then soften that in. I'm going to start with an E11 on my second mermaid and all of her skin areas, so a little bit darker base, and E13 for the shading. All from the right hand side, soften with E11. I'm looking for some hair colors. I've got YR24 for the base of my first mermaid. I'm doing this in small curls, like squiggles, that I'm filling this in with, and I'm not doing it real solid, so it already has a little bit of a texture. E93, or sorry, 99 is coming in for this next layer of texture. It's all done in squiggles. Again, not filling that in. E27 is going to be the last layer. Again, very dark squiggles, and it's done. No blending here. Little RV04 for that little star in her hair, and RV09 to add some shading. Darker hair on this mermaid over here. E35 for the base. Again, hopefully you can kind of see this. I'm leaving that base texture uneven. I'm putting it on with those squiggles and small circles, and leaving it uneven. I don't want it smooth because I'm adding texture right from the starting layer. E37 is next. Some more open, loose squiggles. Kind of goes throughout, but gets definitely further apart toward the top of her head. E27 is going to get her even darker, frames her face down by her neck, and just tiny touches up high. Just a little bit of E29. I felt like she needed a little more right around her face to darken that up. B66 and B79 to add some detail to her little hairpiece. And then I've got this little jellyfish friend over here, so it's going to be E93. I got help for this from my youngest daughter, picking colors, and then Colorless Blender to soften it up. So E93 and the Colorless Blender is a starting point, and then I added a little bit of V01, and I really felt like that added that almost iridescent look to him a little bit. Two little mermaid friends all colored up. Hopefully this answers the question about those colorful tails. Now you could do, I obviously kept it really simple today because these fins are so small, but I chose kind of two color families, ones that were next to each other on the color wheel, but you could do, especially on a bigger one, you could literally go through the rainbow. You could start with your reds, red violets, violets, blue violets, blue. You could really go that whole range if you wanted to. But the key is kind of keeping those colors next to each other on the color wheel so that as they overlap, you don't end up with mud in the middle. So things that are opposite on the color wheel, you're going to avoid putting right up against each other, at least for this technique, so you can blend those pretty happily together. You can force that, it will work, but the easy peasy route is picking things that are next to each other. Thank you for joining me this week. As always, I hope you check back in again. In the meantime, have a very happy, colorful week.